Welcome to the T2 hubcast. Join T2 and guests as they discuss all things personal and professional development. The T2 hubcast, brought to you by the People Performance People.
Welcome to the T2 hubcast with me, Spencer Locker.
And me, Dave Pendleton.
Yeah, well restrained there. Good afternoon, Dave.
Hey up.
Back in the podcast chariot.
Hubcast chariot.
The hubcast chariot. Yeah, the hubcast chariot. I really must remember the word.
Gotta get your head around that.
Yeah. So, I hope you're well, mate. Carrying on from where we left off last time, because we were talking about the 5 dysfunctions or functional teams, or whichever way you want to chop this up. First one we talked about was trust. Sort of picked that apart, put it back together again, diced it up. Just sort of had a bit of a chat about it and got a little bit more understanding, I suppose, bit of perspective. Next up, what we got?
Conflict.
Right, yes. So in Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of the team, trust is the bottom one. The next one we came across was conflict.
Conflict indeed.
Lack of conflict, lack of positive conflict. What's your take on it?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. We must clearly define this, because what the Lencioni model points out very strongly is that conflict must exist within a team with an in brackets positive conflict. Because, we work with many teams and groups and organizations where conflict is regular.
Yes.
Hence why there's so many problems, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the type of conflict that we're talking about in the Lencioni model. Shall I read the clear definition?
Do it.
So it's nice and obvious.
Do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Teams that engage in positive and productive conflict discuss and resolve issues more quickly and completely than others, and they emerge from heated debates with no residual feelings or collateral damage, but with an eagerness and readiness to take on the next important issue. So it's an interesting statement.
It is an interesting statement, yeah.
And it's a statement that I really like. I suppose positive conflict really resonates with me. And you might be agreeing in your head because you know what I'm like. There's some real obvious ones here in the Lencioni model, which essentially points out that they have to have lively, debated meetings.
Yeah.
That must be normal and natural. Now, when it says lively and debated, it means that we have to disagree. It means that we have to have different points of view and different opinions that aren't always the same. It means that. And it means that we have to extract ideas from other people because we want to hear things. We want to get them on the table so we can understand different perspectives and so forth. And what we want to do as well here is minimize, dare I even say, eradicate politics. Yeah, long pause after that one. There is always a long pause after that one. And then put critical things on the table, ready to discuss freely.
Yeah. For this to happen, though, what else must you have?
Well, interestingly, and of course, referring back to our previous hubcast, trust must be in place.
Massively.
And the 8 elements of psychological safety have to be firmly in place so that we can indeed engage in those lively debates.
Because if we haven't got trust, we said with the trust, the definition of trust, knowing that the other team members have got the best intentions.
Correct.
So when we're in a discussion, when we're having a to-in and fro-in, bearing in mind that we're 2 different people, when you turn around to me and say, Spence, I disagree with that. What you've just said, that I don't think that's quite relevant, or maybe it doesn't fit this particular thing. I could, if I didn't trust you, go, it's a bit harsh, isn't it? What have I done to piss him off?
Absolutely.
What have I done? However, if I look at you and I go, you know what, Dave? I trust you've got the best intentions. I trust that you've got the best intentions for the team, for the group, for the organisation. You're not trying to throw me under the bus. You're not trying to make me look a chopper. No. You're not trying to do anything other than say, you know what, I see this from a different perspective. I see this from a different way, and I believe that my way is better or will work better. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't trust you, I won't see that.
No, you're right. Absolutely. And I guess a really nice, clear definition that I suppose groups of people have helped me to define is very simply, in these heated debates, in these, lively disagreements and so forth, it's not about me. That's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's about the thing. It's about the topic, the subject, the outcome, the budget, the manpower, whatever the lively debate and discussions it's about that. So in our situation there, if you trust me, then you understand that it's not my human having to go at your human. It's my brain trying to unpick the thing, to work out the dynamic of the thing, for me to decide whether it's suitable and it works for me, hence why I disagree. All I'm disagreeing is to try and further understand what the thing is and what that means to me.
Okay, so I get that. I agree with that. I appreciate that. So if it's so simple and straightforward, why don't we have it?
Well, because very few people can take the human out of the equation.
Right.
For the vast majority of people, it is about me. It's about proving credibility by having the best ideas, by always going with my point of view and my opinion and fighting strongly for that. It's about one-upmanship. It's about proving that my knowledge is greater than yours. It's about all those things, which, of course, have been bred into us through decades of having a professional career and always having to do the very best and never demonstrating vulnerability. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So it's a self-perpetuating problem, really.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Yes, there's a certain amount of ego in there, isn't there?
There is. And you know what? Yeah, absolutely. It's either leading from an egotistical position or needing to feed the ego. One I think is conscious and one I think is less conscious or even unconscious.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. I do. Yes, really interesting. And we do some exercises when we do this with different organisations and teams.
Oh, we do.
Again, about picking. I mean, one of the exercises we talk about is picking a strength with somebody. Everybody in the room, everybody in the team, picking a strength with them, and then an area for development. Now, I don't know how it's gone for you, but for me, the strength is always. You know what? I get it. I agree with it. Yeah, thank you very much. The area for development, 8 times out of 10, is a bit wet. It's a bit non-committal. Yeah, it's a little bit. Don't want to put their nose out of joint. I don't want to overtread. Again, is this rooted in trust? Does this person trust me to trust what I'm saying? Is it's not being personal? Your thought was that weird?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, we manufactured that exercise purposefully to demonstrate that point. And every single time I run it, it demonstrates that point perfectly well. Because if you like, the nicer people among the group are incredibly hesitant about delivering the area to build on. Even though they know it, even though they could articulate it, they're quite hesitant. However, the strength is very easy to deliver, and they deliver it with a smile on their face. Which demonstrates the point of why we don't have those types of discussions. I don't just mean on a one-to-one basis, but why we don't like to have these conversations that we might deem as being negative. And it's because even if we trust somebody, we don't necessarily know that they're going to take it in the way that it's meant. So when we do this exercise live in a room, it's positioned very specifically as deliver an area you think this person is strong at, and then something you think, only from your point of view and perspective, they could be better at. We don't clearly define it any more than that. It doesn't have to be work-based. So it could be, actually, sometimes you're a little bit outspoken. Where's the danger in telling somebody that? Well, the danger, of course, is if 5 or 6 people say the same thing, then this person is going to think, oh, is that the way I'm perceived? But actually, that's what we want them to perceive.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what we want them to understand. Because from that, they're going to take development points. Yeah. Because if 5 or 6 of your colleagues are saying something similar, then surely it must be true. which starts the ball rolling, but it points out very clearly that if you like, and I hate to keep referring back to this point, but it's all about the chimp. The chimp doesn't want to stir up those feelings. It's dangerous. It makes us hesitate. And even some people, it makes them quite anxious. Even when we first introduce the topic and subject about what you're going to do, some people physically start to look quite anxious about delivering what they think is bad news. So I try and say, well, listen, there's no good news or bad news. There's no such thing as good news or bad news. The only thing that determines whether it's good or bad is how it's received.
Yeah.
So if we went round our team, in fact, we only did this a couple of weeks ago, and I took those areas to build on very seriously, because that helps me understand where I can be better. I didn't hold it against you. I didn't hold it against Martin. I didn't hold it against anybody, because that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
And again, it's about removing the human from the topic and subject. And it's just understanding the outcomes and what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. It makes total sense. It really does. But it's amazing how many people lose sight of that fact. They lose sight of it being an area for development, it being a gift. It might be helping self-awareness, things that you hadn't really considered maybe before.
It could be all those things. But again, if you think about it, through decades of our professional career, we've either been taught or we've trained ourselves to avoid difficult conversations, stepping on people's toes, interfering in people's roles and business.
Yeah.
We've only trained and taught ourselves away from those things because of the negative reactions it creates.
Or has the potential to create, and sometimes those negative reactions are in us, not in the people who are receiving it.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. So, just the ability, and listen, I know we're going ways into the, to the way it makes people feel, but it's important that, we establish quite quickly why people avoid these types of discussions, conversations. I know we talked about one-to-one work there, but we're talking generally about disagreeing with somebody's point of view or opinion.
Yeah.
We're not disagreeing with the human. We're just disagreeing with the point, the thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to remain focused on.
Yeah. And we talk about this. With the rules of when we're in conflict. We do hot and cold conflict. Sure. When we're talking about hot conflict, we've got to make it. It can't be personal. It's got to be relevant. It can't be historical.
Absolutely.
So it sort of trims all these options down. Because if I'm in hot conflict with you and I want to tell you exactly how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling that way, and you want to do exactly the same with me, but when you start sitting in with these rules and regulations, right? It can't be personal, right? Okay. It can't be historical, so it's got to be relevant. It needs to be in the here and now.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So we go through all these rules that are trimming it down, so we can actually focus on what is causing this conflict.
Sure.
So yeah, it all fits together.
And if you think about it, actually, we've been in a few of these sessions fairly recently, Spence, haven't we? You and I and the team, because we've been growing exponentially.
Yeah.
Expanding with people. Our people team has got larger. Our delivery portfolio is getting larger all the time.
Yeah.
So quite frequently we are getting together to throw some ideas around. So it's really, really important that we don't get hung up on the who. Whose idea was it?
Yeah.
Because it's just an idea that we need to talk about as a team. We all need to understand it and not even necessarily agree with it, but buy into it in principle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not even about whether it's my idea, whether I think it's a good one or a bad one. I trust my colleagues to make the right decision. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I get it.
Yeah.
And I understand it.
Yeah. And that is?
Well, that leads us, of course, clearly into the next element.
Yeah. But it's true. Well, we can mention it. We don't have to, we don't have to cut it to bits in this session. We've got another session coming up. We can do it then, but we can still do that, because again, we're talking about conflict and we're talking about ego. You know what? It's not something that I might agree with fully, but I trust they've got the best intentions, so I am going to commit to it.
Sure.
Because if I don't commit to it, it might fall on its arse. So I've got to commit to it. I've got to be full into it because I trust that they've got the best intentions.
Absolutely.
So yeah, definitely leads towards that.
Yeah, it does. And we work with teams who are pretty good at this stuff. And they themselves tell us that it just enables them to move forward faster.
Well, yeah.
Because it's not about the person.
Yeah. And this is the thing, in it. No, you can move forward faster because you're committed, because you don't, I mean, I don't want to go into commitment too much, but it's that agility of being able to sort of commit to things without having to turn around and say, hold on a minute, I need to talk to the rest of my crew about this. Because that opportunity may be gone by the time you get back. So it's like, well, I can commit to things because I know that they've got my back and they'll commit to me. But it's also being able to back out when it's not working. It's always going, right, okay, this isn't what I thought it was.
Yep.
We can back out. I don't have to refer. I don't have to go back.
Sure.
And it's, again, down to conflict and trust. I trust my people, and people are it's not about me.
That's
right.
right.
Human out of it. Brilliant.
And I've been at the table. I've listened to the thoughts and ideas. I don't agree with them, but I get it.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to voice my thoughts, my concerns, and my opinions. People listened, appreciated, and understood. But we're going to go with the boss's idea anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an integral part. 100%, it's an integral part of, creating functionality. Because if you just think about those examples we've given, when we allow ourselves to get in the way of making important decisions, it creates dysfunctionality. It takes us away from success rather than towards it.
And that's what we want at the end of the day. We want to be successful. Success breeds happiness. Happiness breeds success.
I like your equation.
Oh, loving it. Dave, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Chopping up that confidence and that conflict, rather, and getting us where we need to be. So, thank you very much for another T2 Hubcast. We will be back with another T2 Hubcast in the future. Bye-bye now.
Ta-ra.